Well, Don Mafia, welcome to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. As always, it is your host, Dan Mitchell. Now, for those of you who have been watching my videos religiously throughout the past couple of months, you're probably asking yourself the question, Dan, where the f have you been? Well, Don Mafia, I have a couple of reasons, right? Number one, a day one homie just got engaged. He's set to be married in April, and we decided to have a little impromptu bachelor party for him in Nashville, Tennessee this past weekend. It was an absolute blast. My liver may not forgive me for at least the next 3 or 4 months, but lo and behold, ja boy is back. And then before I even started filming this video today, I also noticed that my microphone has completely took a steaming shit. It's no longer working. That's why the audio quality in this video is not as crispy clear as the Don Mafia is so spoiled to recognize. But guys, a microphone that shit the bed and a guy that has a terrible hangover from a bachelor party this past weekend is not going to deter you from the content that you so rightfully deserve. I've dropped a couple of videos so far this off season and I'm getting nothing but request after request after request. Dan, do a wide receiver video, wide receiver free agency, wide receiver draft video. Danny,
do that.
Well, you know what, Don Mafia? I listened, and that's exactly what today's video is going to be. I'm going to be looking through some of the many free agents that could potentially be a Buffalo Bill next year and sort of help the Buffalo Bills take that next step. Now, before I even dive into this, I do want to preface this by saying that I don't think that our answer to wide receiver number 1 will be found in free agency. I just so happen to think that it will be found during the draft. Now, I could do a video on the wide receivers that I would like to target during the draft, but I'm sort of skeptical to do any type of draft video before the NFL Combine. I mean, you can just sort of call me a perfectionist if you want to. But like I said, I think the draft is where we will find our receiver. But just for shits and giggles, let's see if we can find an answer in free agency. Number 1 is going to be Phillip Dorsett. I know, not very exciting. Not very exciting to start off this video, but he is an option and somebody we should consider. Now, he's not the tallest guy, but believe it or not, right after the Antonio Brown and Josh Gordon incident that happened in New England, he became the New England Patriots, more specifically Tom Brady's favorite target of the year. And so the dude had about 397 reception yards, not too exciting, 13.7 yards per reception, and 5 touchdowns throughout the season. Now, like I said, believe it or not, this might actually be a very realistic pickup because like I said, we have a whole shit ton of cap space. Now, do I think that Phillip Dorsett is going to come in here and be the Buffalo Bills' number 1 receiver? No, not by a long shot. I still think that John Brown and Cole Beasley are light years better than he is. But as far as wide receiver depth is concerned, I think that he might be a decent addition, especially when it comes to depth. Now, he's only averaging 28.36 yards a game, and that was with the New England Patriots. And that does say a lot, especially since the Patriots really didn't have a lot to work with outside of Julian Edelman and Dorsett himself. But Dorsett could be an option. He's 27 years old, and we could probably get him on the cheap. He's probably the cheapest receiver that I'm looking at right now out of the rest of the receivers that we have to go over. Number 2, believe it or not, he is my absolute favorite free agent that is on the market right now. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's not AJ Green. It's not Amari Cooper. It is Robby Anderson. Big and tall dude from the New York Jets is set to be an unrestricted free agent who has seemed to be surprisingly underutilized throughout his career with the New York Jets organization. Now, this year alone, he ended up clocking in about 779 yards total, 5 reception touchdowns, and an average of about 15.3 yards per reception. The way that he was playing this year, let's say that Sam Darnold did not come down with that high school disease, then I think that he very well would have exceeded over 1,000. Several of his interviews suggest that he's not very happy with how the Jets organization is moving, and I personally think that he is going to test free agency. I mean, when you're an athlete in the NFL, you want to find a team that is going to be a competitor, and what not better than the Buffalo Bills, especially coming off a 10-6 record and a team that has a bunch of cap space that is just indefinitely going to be a powerhouse next season. Why wouldn't Robby Anderson want to come to the Buffalo Bills? Now, one caveat is that he's set to be very, very expensive. And so according to Spot Track, this guy's market value is $12 million and an average of a 4-year contract. Now, is that something that Brandon Beane is going to shell out? Maybe. We don't know. But I think that as long as we can find the right deal, bring on Robby Anderson, and find that big-ass target for Josh Allen that can go up and catch those contested passes, I think Robby Anderson will be the dude. Now, number 3, Mr. Emmanuel Sanders. We all know him as the Denver Bronco that recently just got traded to the San Francisco 49ers, and this gentleman just so happens to be playing for a Super Bowl in about 10 days. Very, very talented wide receiver. His market value, according to Spot Track, is $10 million a year and a 2-year deal. Now, the guy is 33 years old. In my opinion, I think he's on the decline as far as his talent is concerned itself. So do I see Brandon Beane shelling out that kind of money? I'm not sure, especially since the guy is only 5'11". He's only 1 inch taller than John Brown, which really wouldn't be, you know, solving the issue at hand here. But in his defense, his average reception was 13.2 yards this season, just 0.1 points more than his career average. And so he racked up 779 yards, 5 touchdowns, and averages about 51 yards per game. So as far as Emmanuel Sanders is concerned, while I think that he would be a great veteran presence within the locker room, I mean, say that I was a GM, I wouldn't go for it, but hey, who the hell am I? So then we just so happen to have one of the most popular wide receivers that have been dominating the discussions as soon as when free agency has become a part of the conversation. And that is Amari Cooper. 25 years old, out of the Dallas Cowboys. And let's just say that he is going to be demanding a very fat check. And according to Spot Track, he is projected to get a $19.7 million a year salary and a 5-year contract. Now, when it came to the Robby Anderson contract, I think it was 12.1 or something like that. That's something that I could see Brandon Beane splurging on, but 19.7 per year for 5 years, that's gonna be a fat no. That's gonna be an absolute fat no in my opinion. But let's say in an alternative universe that we did decide to splurge on Amari Cooper, we're looking at a guy that has racked up close to 5,907 career yards, 33 touchdowns, and an average of 66 yards per game. What makes it even better is that while he is young, he somehow remained relatively healthy. In fact, I'm pretty sure that he's only missed a couple of games throughout his career. Whether or not that has to do with his trainers, whether or not that has to do with his own routine, he could be somebody that can come into Buffalo and really make a damn impact the second that he steps on the field. That plus he's 6'1", and the first couple of years within his career. So I mean, the sky is the limit. But like I said, I don't foresee Brandon Beane splurging on a guy like this. But, you know, who knows? Last but not least, and I swear to you, 75% of my comment section would be like, Dan, what about AJ Green? Where's AJ Green? How do you feel about AJ Green? So I absolutely had to include him on this list. So we all know the guy. Unfortunately, he didn't play a single snap in 2019. He was battling a foot injury. Now, I want to say that that's surprising, but unfortunately, the guy has been dealing with injuries a lot during his career. In fact, I think he's only played 2 seasons in his 9-year career where he has played all 16 games, which is a red flag immediately. Just to make you guys happy, let's look at what he's all about. 31 years old, 8,907 career reception yards. The average is 14.8 yards per reception and 80 yards per game. Now, I'd be absolutely dumb by telling you that that's not something the Buffalo Bills need. I mean, you give me a receiver that averages 80 yards a game once he steps on the field, who's gonna say no to that? It's an absolute boss move. 63 reception touchdowns. I mean, listen guys, say that AJ Green were to come into Buffalo and miraculously stay healthy for all 16 games. He would without a doubt be our #1 receiver. 110%. That would be the guy that Josh Allen would go to his first progression, his first look. And surprisingly, he wouldn't be that expensive either. According to SpotTrack, you're looking at about $9.1 million yearly salary for a 2-year contract. With, once you consider our cap space for 2020, that is something that we could easily afford. And that's after extending some of our big names on defense already. But my biggest concern with AJ Green is, number one, does he want to leave Cincinnati? He's played for Cincinnati since the second that he got drafted. Is he the kind of guy that wants to stay and ride out his career with the team that drafted him? And then number two, he's getting old. And number three, the guy just can't stay healthy. So, I mean, is that something that we really want to pay $9.1 million a year for a guy that it's sort of a toss-up of whether or not that he'll see the field on a consistent basis? So, I mean, that's why I've always sort of stepped away from the AJ Green train. Now, say that we get him, trust me, I'll be screaming it from the rooftops. I'll be absolutely pumped, but I just don't foresee Brandon Beane going for this. I really, really don't. So guys, like, there's several other receivers that are free agents, like Rashad Evans, there's Devin Funchess, but I mean, they just really didn't excite me and not something that I could see, not something that I could foresee Beane going after, not unless we get them at a very, very cheap rate for some wide receiver depth, if you will. Like I've said, I'm gonna reiterate this, I really think that the Buffalo Bills are going to find their number one receiver in the draft. I am planning on doing a mock draft video where I guarantee you I'm going to be picking 2 wide receivers in the first and the second round. Free agency, in my opinion, really needs to be focused on an edge rusher and then a linebacker. Those are my 2 big spenders right over there. We'd love to see Matthew Judon and would love to see Yannick Ngakoue on the Buffalo Bills next year. That's just me dreaming. But there you go, guys. That is the wide receiver free agency video. Do me a favor, tell me, who is your favorite receiver in free agency this year? Who do you want to see don a Bills uniform? Really want to hear your thoughts. Say that you're new here, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. I do a bunch of Buffalo Bills videos, I do a bunch of NFL videos. That's just the name of the game, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. And above all else, let's go Buffalo.